everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also known as BrightShine, right here in the city of Memphis, in the county ship. It's in the state of Tennessee. Today date is early Monday morning, August the 19th, 2019. I want to thank all my fans, my support for your continued encouragement support. And this is part 2 of the same video. And it's being dated August the 19th, 2019, part 2. And so now this is part 2 of the same video. Excuse me. As you know, the United States government, like governments all around the world, enact laws that intend to make all of us safe from crime, from devil worship and organized crime. Now the United States government enacted the Organized Crime Control Act of 1970, and Title IX of the Organized Crime Control Act of 1970 is the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act, the RICO Act. It's anti-gang. The Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act of 1970, the Controlled Substances Act, the Psychotropic Substances Act, the Continuing Criminal Enterprise Statute, Kingpin Statute is all anti-gang. The Juvenile Justice and Links Prevention Act of 1974 established the Office of Juvenile Justice and Links Prevention, as well as other related legislation. The Comprehensive Anti-Gang Initiative, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Links Prevention, and the Comprehensive Gang Model Office of Juvenile Justice and Links Prevention, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, the Office of Justice Program, and the United States Department of Justice. The Office of Justice Program, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, the United States Department of Justice, the Comprehensive Anti-Gang Initiative, and Project Safe Neighborhoods. The United States Department of Justice, the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Service, the Comprehensive Anti-Gang Initiative, the Office of Juvenile Justice and the Links Prevention, the United States Department of Justice, the Office of Justice Program, Bureau of Justice Assistance, International Narcotic Law Enforcement Affairs, the United States Department of State Institute for Intergovernmental Affairs, Gang Resistant Education and Training, the GREAT program. The United States Department of Justice, Office of Justice Program, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Links Prevention. In October 2009, the National Youth Gang Center, which had been funded by the Office of Juvenile Justice, the Links Prevention Center in 1995, merged with the National Gang Center, which had been funded by the Bureau of Justice Assistance since 2003. The National Gang Center compilation of state laws against gangs. Gang Prevention Overview Research Program, Mr. James Howe, Office of Juvenile Justice and Links Prevention. The United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Assistance, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Links Prevention, National Gang Center Bulletin. And the title of the bulletin, History of Street Gangs in the United States. Now, there are books in the bulletin to refer to. Read those books in the bulletin, and also when you read a book have references as well. You have to read that information as well. You can go to the quick reference Wikipedia, and you can find that same information. It's titled Gangs in the United States. The United States Department of Justice. Office of the United States Attorney Manual 1457. Criminal Street Gang Statute 18, United States Code 521. The United States Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigating National Gang Intelligence Center. The United States Department of Justice, Organized Crime and Gang Section. There are other federal, state, and local agencies. The United States Department of Justice, Office of Justice Program, National Institute of Justice, Anti-Gang Strategies, Prevention, Intervention, Assessment, and Suppression. The United States Department of Justice, Office of Justice Program, National Institute of Justice, United States Department of Health and Human Services, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, National Center for Injury Prevention and Control, Change in Course, Preventing Gang Membership, and also striving to reduce youth violence everywhere. The United States Department of Justice, United States Department of Education, United States Department of Health and Human Services, United States Department of Housing, Urban Development, United States Department of Labor, and the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, National Forum, Youth Violence Prevention Forum. You can go to youth.gov, be informed about the National Forum, Youth Violence Prevention Forum, as well as the Comprehensive Anti-Gang Initiative, the Comprehensive Gang Model. The United States Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, keeping kids out of gangs. Anti-hazing. You can go to lawyers.com, be informed about anti-hazing. The United States Department of Justice has already determined that hazing is a crime. Now the birth of the Son of God, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 through 25. Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 through 23. And Luke chapter 1, verse 1 through 80. Luke chapter 2, verse 1 through 52. The Lord's Supper. Matthew chapter 26, verses 26 through 29. Mark chapter 14, verses 22 through 25. Luke chapter 22, verses 15 through 22. The Lord's Prayer. Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through 13. And Luke chapter 11, verses 2 through 4. Read the Beatitudes. Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. And Luke chapter 6, verses 20 through 49. When it comes to John the Baptist, Matthew chapter 3, verse 1 through 17, emphasize verse 11 through 17. Mark chapter 1, verses 1 through 11, emphasize verses 7 through 11. Luke chapter 3, verses 1 through 22, emphasize verses 16 through 22. And John chapter 1, verses 15 through 34, emphasize verses 26 through 34. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ teaching in the synagogue. Matthew chapter 4, verse 23. Mark chapter 1, verse 21. Luke chapter 4, verse 15. And John chapter 6, verse 59. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, begins his ministry. Matthew chapter 4, verses 12 through 25. Emphasize verse 23 through 25. Mark chapter 1, verses 14 through 45. Emphasize verse 14, 39 through 45. Luke chapter 4, verses 14 through 44. Emphasize verse 15, 43 and 44. And John chapter 1, verses 35 through 51. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ chose 12 disciples. Matthew chapter 10, verse 1 through 42. Mark chapter 3, verses 13 through 35. Luke chapter 6, verses 13 through 49. And John chapter 6, verses 59 through 71. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, established the one church and the only church. Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 19. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15 through 20. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, gives his apostles commission. Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. Mark chapter 16, verses 14 through 20. Luke chapter 24, verses 44 through 49. And John chapter 21. The death, burial, and resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God. Matthew chapter 26, verses 1 through 75. Matthew chapter 27, verses 1 through 66. Emphasize verse 50. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, took his body down from the cross. And also verses 57 through 6. Matthew chapter 28, verses 1 through 20. Emphasize verses 16 through 20. Mark chapter 14, verses 1 through 72. Mark chapter 15, verses 1 through 47. Emphasize verse 37. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, took his body down from the cross. Then also verses 43 and 47. Mark chapter 16, verses 1 through 20. Emphasize verses 14 through 20. Luke chapter 22, verses 1 through 71. And Luke chapter 23, verses 1 through 56. Emphasize verse 46. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, took his body down from the cross. And also verses 50 through 56. Luke chapter 24, verses 1 through 53. Emphasize verses 44 through 53. John chapter 17, verse 1 through 26. John chapter 18, verse 1 through 40. John chapter 19, verse 1 through 42. Emphasize verse 30. Joseph of Arimathea, a disciple of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Son of God, took his body down from the cross. And also verses 38 through 42. John chapter 20, verses 1 through 31. in John chapter 21, verse 1 through 25. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, gives his apostle commission. Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. Mark chapter 16, verses 14 through 20. Luke chapter 24, verses 44 through 49. John chapter 21. Now in our Bible reading, we've gone over the Old Testament, of course, about the devil worshiping people who suffer, who were worshiping the devil. Then we come to the New Testament. We done read Matthew chapters 3 and 4. Of course, the Beatitudes 5, 6, and 7. Matthew chapter 16. Verses 13 through 19. The one church. Matthew chapter 18. The only church. Verses verses 18, verses 50. Matthew chapter 18, verses 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And Matthew chapter Matthew chapter 13, verses 1 through 58. Matthew chapter 25, verses 1 through 46. And also the book of Mark, chapter 4, verses 1 through 32. And the book of Mark, chapter 13, verses 1 through 37. Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. And go all the way over to the book of Acts. Okay, we're in the book of Acts, chapter 1. Acts chapter 2. Acts chapter 2. Speaking in tongues. Acts chapter 2. No such thing as speaking in tongues. No such thing. The 12 apostles, they got it straight now. Acts chapter 5 and 6. And so, we went over all these scriptures. You know, basically the book of Acts, all the way from chapter 1 to, let's see, 26, 27. So like I said, the book of Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, then Jude, and after Jude, then you had the book of Revelation. The Apostle John. Now, the air conditioner gave me the head cold. But like I said, we've been going over these verses, these scriptures, and we're gonna continue to go over. Because we don't worship no devil. We don't worship no devil. No such thing as worshiping the devil. Now, excuse me. I'm over here in the book of James. I apologize, not intentional, but I was being reminded, and so confess your faults one to another. As you know, that's a very serious work to do. To confess your faults one to another. Now that don't mean you go into details. Not what I've been doing. I've just been going by some scriptures and pretty much got them all wrote down for everybody to refer to and things of nature. I'm gonna get ready to end my video in a minute. Matter of fact, these are just a few of the free logo design websites that you can go to make anti-gang logos. Now these are the scriptures that I want to make sure I provide for everyone, and you can get the complete and total meaning of these verses on your own. Now, one more thing on my mind before I end my video. When I'm out here on the street in the community at work, that's just like being on the street. People saying the thing that when I'm in the building, somehow it must be something that they trying to get away with. This past week, for example, I was at work and sitting in the break room at my lunch, and wasn't saying nothing to nobody, wasn't bothering nobody. One of the managers came into the break room, and some other guy that was sitting at the same table I was. And this other person and so but like I said, a few verses that I gave you now in the book of Hebrews. Now I'm gonna get ready to end today's video, but let me continue talking about what happened in the break room, where the manager said something to another person who was sitting in the break room. And what he said was, OG. You know, I don't know why the manager gonna bring his butt around there to the break room. And I'm sitting in the break room, and then some other person sitting on the side, next to me. And you got to say OG to that person, you know. And so sometimes, unusual things And so, like I said, I read that saying, then I turned around because I was watching TV in the break room and eating my lunch. When I heard that OG, and I knew who it was who said it, I just turned my head around to look at him. Didn't really want to say nothing else. And so, see, when you don't have no respect, when you just a nobody, you do things like that because you ain't nobody. And so, after I got to eat my lunch, I went in and left the break room and went back to doing my work. So, the individual's not right about nothing. But things like that, been saying over and over again, don't accept, don't approve, and don't allow. So I'm gonna get ready to end today's video. And again, my name is Eric D. Johnson, also known BrightShine. I live right here in the center of Memphis, in the county in the state of Tennessee. Thank all my fans, my support for your continued care and support. And until my next video, take care of yourself. Wish each and every one of your very best.